Hi everyone, welcome back. Heather here. Today I want to talk with you a little bit about beneficial bacteria. So most of us are familiar that there's beneficial bacteria all on our body and in our gut microbiome. And today I'm going to focus on the gut microbiome, of course, and the beneficial bacteria that's in your gut. So we're well aware that and when we've been taught and told that there's good bacteria in the gut, or called probiotics, and that it's really important to have these good bacteria in your gut. This is absolutely so true, very true. We need those beneficial bacteria in our guts to thrive, to be healthy, to have a healthy immune system, to have energy, to sleep, to be able to maintain a healthy weight. And something that's not talked about, however, is diversity around our beneficial gut microbes. So if you don't have a diverse array of strains of beneficial bacteria in your gut, then this is actually going to create a dysbiosis pattern in your gut. So it's not just important to have beneficial bacteria in your gut. We need to expand far beyond that concept. When it comes to beneficial gut microbes, you need a diverse array of those strains in your gut, not just from a probiotic supplement, not just from one or two probiotic-rich foods, but there needs to be multiple sources of probiotics in your diet in order to feed and create those diverse array of beneficial bacteria strains. And it's important to just keep in mind that anything you eat can be a probiotic. So if you have a healthy diet and you're eating a therapeutic keto-based diet, that's really gut friendly, and this is something I work with people to create. If you have this type of diet in place, you're going to be feeding a diverse array of those gut bacteria, and these are all probiotics. Whether it's a fermented food or if it's just a piece of grass-fed meat, both are going to feed the gut microbiome. So that's really important to keep in mind, that probiotics aren't just in a pill, and they're not just in a probiotic rich food like your sauerkraut or your kefir or anything like that. Anything you eat has the ability to be a probiotic and feed the good bacteria. Or if your diet is, if you have a poor diet, it's got a lot of carbs or sugars or fruit that hasn't been fermented or oils that aren't super healthy, like those vegetable oils, then you're going to be feeding the pathogens in your gut, and you're going to be actually decreasing the amount of beneficial bacteria in your gut. So that is really important to keep in mind, that there's everything you eat can be a probiotic, and really it's about those diverse array of bacteria in your gut that make you healthy and that make those beneficial gut microbes so potent and immune boosting and really helpful for your entire well-being. So that's really important to keep in mind. Also, if you have, say, an imbalance of those beneficial bacteria, so say maybe your lactobacillus strains are really high, and say your bifidobacteria strains in comparison are super low. And this is something that I like to use, the stool testing that I do with people, the DNA GI map it's called. I do this with people to help give them a snapshot of what's actually in their gut. And it tests everything from beneficial bacteria to not so beneficial bacteria to pathogens and parasites that could be in there. So when we know what's in your gut, if you have, say, that high lactobacillus and that low bifidobacteria, these are both considered beneficial bacteria. They're both very, very good to have in the diet and in your gut, and you need these bacteria. They're called commensal strains, and they're very beneficial. However, if one is higher than the other, you're actually going to have physical symptoms. So things like poor sleep or brain fog or depression or anxiety, or even things like digestive upset. These things can manifest not just from bad bacteria in your gut, but also from an imbalance in those beneficial gut microbes. And oftentimes people just look at the pathogens and getting the pathogens out versus looking at the beneficial strains and seeing, are they in balance? How's your bifido strains? How's your lactobacillus strains? How's your commensal E. coli strains? How's your commensal strep strains? You know, we need to look at the whole picture versus just taking a probiotic supplement, say with just lactobacillus in it and some bifidobacteria. You know, when you do that, you could be causing an imbalance in your gut if you don't know what's in there, because you could be feeding it strains that you already have a lot of, and that's just going to make physical symptoms actually worse. And so this is something we're not really considering yet when it comes to our physical symptoms, when it comes to acute and chronic disease, is one, yes, we look at the pathogens in our gut, but we're missing the boat here when it comes to those beneficial strains. What's the balance of those? And if they're out of balance, we need to learn how to bring them back into balance. That's something that I do in my work with people. We do this through diet and special probiotics, and we do the stool testing to get a really clear picture of this. And then when those stool test results come back, it's really helpful to do the diet and the supplements, and then I incorporate my radionics practice in there as well, because if you have a pathogen in your gut and it shows up on the stool test, that's a really nice way to use the radionics to help to approach and remove any pathogens and to even bring the beneficial strains back into balance. So it's a really beautiful and potent way that I like to holistically approach gut healing and bringing those good bacterial strains into balance. So, I caution you not to just reach for your probiotic. Don't just go get a supplement at the store without knowing what's in your gut, because you could be causing more imbalances or even physical symptoms than you had before, simply by doing something. Too much of a good thing it can be a bad thing in this case. So just keep that in mind when you're approaching your probiotic supplements and your probiotic rich foods. You really want a diverse array. If you aren't in a place to do the stool testing or work with me, then the least you can do is try to get a diversity of probiotics in your diet via the foods that you're eating. And again, even with those, pay attention to how you feel after you eat them. If you take your probiotic supplement and you don't notice a drastic change in your physical symptoms or your stool within 1 to 2 weeks, then that likely aren't the strains for your body. Those are not the strains for your gut and body and that you need. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, if you eat a food that is quote unquote healthy, like sauerkraut, and say you get a little, itchy or joint pain or, breakout on your elbows or knees or anywhere on your body, we consider foods that are healthy. We just take it on that they should be healthy without exploring more about them. But really, foods like sauerkraut, fermented beets, fermented cabbages, any fermented vegetable can have the ability to produce histamine-like responses and reactions in people, and this is simply due to that dysbiosis pattern in your gut microbiome that needs to be looked at a little more closely. So that's something to keep in mind. Pay attention to how you feel after you eat those probiotic foods, like the krauts, the things that have been fermented, to see how your body feels and reacts. Because if you eat a healthy food and you just dismiss that symptom you had could never be related to that food because it's a healthy food, well, that's often not the case. It can often be why you're having the reaction, especially when it comes to fermented foods, because if your gut has pathogens in it, or if those beneficial strains are out of balance, then things like the histamine response, a reaction can happen. So just keep an eye on these things when you're exploring your probiotics and exploring your diet. And if you really want to get a close-up picture of this and your gut and it really looks like and what's really in there and how to approach it from a root place, then I invite you to reach out to me and we can have a conversation about what that would look like together. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to post below. And as always, you can visit me at ancestraldigestion.com. There's now a video library up there and some blog posts and information on the DNA stool testing I offer. So feel free to check it out if you feel called to do so. See you next time.